certified scuba diver. In this video, I'm going to share with you all the questions that you have about how to get your scuba certification. I'm even going to throw in things that you don't even know to ask. So sit back as I share with you everything you need to know about how to become a certified scuba diver.
All right, here we go. How to get your scuba certification. This is all those burning questions you have about becoming a certified scuba diver. So the first question, why do I need a certification to scuba dive? Well, you have to remember that the human body was never designed to be underwater for prolonged periods of time. Because of that, we need to be trained in the special equipment used, the special knowledge, and the special techniques needed to be able to safely explore underwater. This is all packaged and done in a scuba certification class, to which you end that class, you complete it successfully, and you'll get a scuba certification card. So who can dive and what are the prerequisites? Well, first of all, you need to be healthy and fit to dive. Healthy means that you need to be physiologically and psychologically fit to dive. How are we going to tell that and determine that? Well, first of all, at the beginning of your scuba class, you're going to receive a medical questionnaire. This medical questionnaire is really looking at your medical history, both in your past and present. And what you're going to do is look over that form and see if you have any of the conditions that are listed or have had any of the conditions listed on that form. If so, you're going to put a yes response to that you have had that condition. At that point, you're going to need to get a physician to clear you to be able to go through that training. This is a really important screening process because you might have a condition in your past that, it's never been a problem for any other sport you've done, but with diving it actually might be a problem. So this is really important that you're very accurate and honest and open on that medical questionnaire so that it can be determined whether or not you're properly able to dive and your doctor can give you that clearance. For fitness to dive, you really do need to be fit to dive. There's going to be times when you're going to be underwater and maybe have to go against a current or whatnot. So we're looking at good cardiovascular health. We're looking at good fitness levels. This is one of those times when people say, hey, can I smoke and dive? Well, actually, you could, but let this be the opportunity for you to give up smoking. Smoking and diving do not mix. So give it up for diving. It's worth it. Now, let's say you have a condition and you want to know ahead of time if that's going to be something that's problematic. You can always contact Divers Alert Network. Divers Alert Network, or DAN, has a non-emergency hotline that you can actually call and talk to a diving medic and tell them what conditions you have or what medications you're on or anything like that, and they can go through all kinds of information with you and share information before you even sign up for a class or meet with your instructor for the first time. So DAN is an excellent resource, and I highly recommend you contact them if you want to know about some conditions in diving. You also need to be comfortable in the water and able to swim. Now, comfortable in the water is that this is where you should be liking the opportunity to be in and under the water. This is not the time to get over a fear of diving or a fear of water or a fear of drowning. So if you had a near drowning experience as a kid, a scuba class is not your exposure therapy to get over that fear. Do something else aquatically, but do not engage in diving as that thing to get rid of your fear. The ability to swim is also an important piece of this. Now, with that, you're going to go through a prerequisite swim test. Many of the agencies adopt the RSTC, that's Recreational Scuba Training Council's minimum standards. And so that's going to look like about a 200-yard or meter swim, followed by a 10-minute tread or float in the water. Now, that swim is not anything where you're going to be required to perform butterfly or do it for time. necessarily. Most of the agencies just maintain that this is a non-stop swim. You just can't stop during the swim, and that really any stroke is okay to use. You can't have floating aids like a wetsuit or swimmies or floaties. You wouldn't want that. So that's a non-stop swim, and then your tread of water is 10 minutes to just tread or even float in the water. You have to be able to swim. If you're not able to swim, then you would not be a good candidate as a scuba diver. You don't have to be great Olympic swimmer, you just have to be able to swim and comfortable in the water. We're often asked about ages. Well, there are different ages and there's different certifications that go with them. So for instance, if you are 10 years old to 14 years old, that would be a junior scuba diver certification. And the junior scuba diver certification does have some limitations to it, but it is an opportunity for kids to engage in diving. At the age of 15 and higher, then we get into the regular scuba certification. Now here's a note about ages in diving. There are individuals that are 10, 11, 12 that don't have the maturity to really participate in the sport. So don't think that if your child is one that is really, really great in the water, that means they're going to be a great diver. Actually, what's more important is their maturity level, because there are rules of diving that if they're not done or followed, they can lead to serious injury or death. So you need to have a child really aware of what can go wrong and understand that. And that's the kind of person you're looking for to be a good and responsible diver. So really look at that for the proper age of a child to begin their scuba certification training. So what's the beginner diving certification? Well, for most agencies, it's called open water diver. Some agencies do use the term scuba diver, and other agencies do have that term too, but it might be limited, such as in the case with PADI. The scuba diver certification with PADI is actually kind of a restricted certification, whereas open water diver is the one that most divers want to achieve. That's the one that gets you on dive boats and gets you gear and so forth. So open water diver is the one we look at. Now, what does this card allow you to do? Well, it allows you to go on dive boats, and so they're going to check every time you get on a dive boat that you've got a scuba certification card. They'll even look at your logbooks to make sure that you are certified to be on that trip. You can also rent scuba equipment with a scuba certification card. This allows you to go places and try on different gear. And that card is your ticket to be able to do that. And then finally, if you were to buy your own scuba equipment and you get a scuba tank, they're going to check your scuba certification to make sure that you did get certified to properly issue you compressed air. What scuba training agency should I go with? Well, I get this question all the time. So when you look at the variety of agencies that are out there, it's kind of overwhelming. Who do I go with? What agency is best? Blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. What's really important to note is that these agencies that you see here on this screen all have standards of training. Now, what happens in between those standards is there are slight differences within those training standards. And with those training standards, most of the agencies follow a minimum that is established by the Recreational Scuba Training Council, the RSTC. And those minimums are what kind of guide our industry and what should be taught at the various levels of certification. Now, the agencies get the opportunity to exceed those standards. So you will have agencies that pride themselves on exceeding industry minimum standards. And so each agency has a different flavor on how they do those standards. Now, the more important thing that you should really focus on is actually the instructor, not necessarily the agency. Because the instructor is the one that's going to pour in those standards and educational concepts into you. So you want to have a really good, competent, great instructor that is going to pour into you so that you can learn the best you can. So that's the most important thing to look for. And you'll find these agencies all over the place, many of which are RSTC members themselves. But again, they can do what they want with their own training standards as long as they're going above those minimum industry standards. So how do I find a scuba instructor or class? Well, one of my recommendations is to ask another certified diver. This could be a friend, a relative, a colleague, but ask them who they got certified with. And you might find that they really like this particular dive center, or they really like this particular instructor, and they can recommend that person to you. That's a great way to start. Otherwise, you can look at agency websites. And to do that, you just simply go online. And when you go online, you can go to the different agencies that are out there. And then you'll find on their dive sites, or on their websites, you can find where they will have locate a dive shop or resort. So here's Patty's, and you just go on there, and then all you do is come up in here and put the search in as to what your zip code is. You can even put your location in some web browsers, and it will auto-populate that. All right, here's NAUI. NAUI, locate a NAUI dive center or professional. And so this one's interesting because not only can you find a dive shop or dive center, but you can also find an independent instructor. And again, with this, you would just put your address or postal code in there, and it'll bring up those different people and places. SSI, Scuba Schools International, same thing with them. Dive center locator right here. Just click on that. And this one's auto-populated already. So they're finding all the different SSI dive centers near my location here in South Florida. And then here, SDI, TDI, same thing. You can go under dive centers, find a dive center, and it's going to bring up find a SDI dive center near you by typing in your information there. So how long does it take to get scuba certified? Well, there's various ways to go through this, and there's different areas that you have to go through for your scuba certification. First of all is your academic portion. That can be done in either the classroom or it can be done online. With the classroom, you're going to be getting books and materials and study guides and possibly videos. You might watch those in class or get those to take home, and then you'll be lectured by an instructor. The online is where you're going to be doing most of that at home on your own computer or tablet or device. And so with that, you get to do your quizzes, tests, readings, videos, all online. Then you've got your pool sessions. Your pool sessions are going to be where you get with your instructor, the rest of the class, and you're going to go to the pool or confined water, pool-like conditions. And with that, you're going to do all the skills that you need to do to go through scuba certification training. And that is going to end in your open water dives. You're going to take all what you've learned and now apply them into the open water. The open water could be any location that is a natural environment. This could be your ocean, it could be a lake, it could be a river, a quarry, a spring, a sinkhole, wherever you're diving. So this is your open water dives. Again, the industry standard for that varies, mostly with 4 open water dives being given as the minimum, but the agencies do vary with how many they give for the open water diver level, as well as how many pool sessions are given too. So the final note here is, what's the difference between modular and hourly training? Now, why do I throw this in here? Because if you look at these other bullet points here between classroom, pool, and open water dives, these are all done in this package that we call a scuba class. And so that scuba class is broken down by different elements that have to be taught. Now, some agencies are a modular program where you do modules and you go through those modules. And other agencies basically say, well, you have to meet a minimum hourly standard and you have to do so many hours. Now, there will be modules within that, but it's more hourly dictated than it is modular. So here's where that can be of issue. Where it can be of issue is that if a modular program is done as quickly as possible, hitting one module right after the other, well, that's where you're going to see things like get certified in 2 or 3 days. I consider that, and I call that abbreviated training. Why? Because what you're going to do is you're going to go through one module right into the next module, right into the next module, without a lot of time to digest, let it sink in, let you come back for a different time, and then you put those applications together. It's really a wham bam course, and then you're done. Whereas hourly courses or modular courses that are just done over a longer period of time, that sinks in training a little bit better and actually can produce a more confident and comfortable diver that has put more into their training and they've gotten more out of their training. So I highly recommend that you do not engage in abbreviated scuba training courses that are crash courses of 2 days or 3 days. Go for longer, more sustained courses over time. And how much does it cost to get scuba certified? This is a big question that we always get, right? Now, here is a picture of a dive center that is offering scuba lessons for $99. All right, let me tell you actually what went into this particular class with this particular dive center. A $99 course seems like a great value, but here's the deal. When you went there, they actually said, okay, great. Now you'll need to buy your books and materials. You'll need to buy your scuba certification at the end of the class. You'll also need to buy mask, snorkel, fins, booty, lead, weight belt, a dive slate, a dive knife, and then they threw this little part at the end that said, and all 4 of your scuba dives are going to be done on the beach. Well, that means that here in this area, they would have done all their dives in less than 20 feet of water, never stepping foot on a dive boat. To which they suggested that you should take your checkout dives on a dive boat, at least one day of the dives, and that was an upcharge of $120. So this $99 scuba course actually was more in the $600 to $700 range when it was all said and done. So what I'm getting at is the advertised cost might not be the actual cost. So how do we differentiate that? Well, what you do is you really need to ask questions. And in this video, and in this in the article that goes with this video, you're going to have a link that has a class comparison sheet that you can get from us. I'll send you this sheet, and it is a comparison so that you can contact different dive centers and you can literally ask them the same exact questions of what is included in the class and what is not. And then you can ask, how much will that be for me to purchase this or purchase that? That's a great way to do an apples to apples comparison from dive center to dive center when you are checking out prices and values for classes. So when we look at that cost, it could be that the books package that you get or e-learning might have a different price to them. The pool sessions, some places have pools where they're going to pay for, like a municipal pool, and other places might get in their local apartment complex pool, and that's a free one. But that pool is 6 to 7 feet deep. Not a lot of good deep water training in that, but it's cheaper. Open water dives, like I mentioned in the previous scenario. Are you going to be doing all your dives in a free location? Well, that could have some limitations. You do want to step foot on a dive boat. You want to get on a dive boat at some point in your scuba certification so that you can understand how to get on and off boats and dive boat etiquette and all the things that go with that. That's important. Hey, if you're landlocked and your only dives are at the quarry, no big deal. You can get that education later on. But if you're in a location that does have the ability to go for dive boats, I would do that. Your certification. Are they going to include the certification card in the price of the course? Your instructor time. When you have more time with your instructor, yeah, there's a little bit more to the course fee because of that time. But here is just a great piece. That instructor is giving you a wealth of knowledge. So the more contact time you have with your instructor, the better diver you're going to be because of all the more education that's going to come from that contact time. And then finally, the equipment needed. What equipment are they going to require you to purchase at the beginning of the class? So what equipment will you need? Well, it depends and it varies. But for the most part, here's what we see. You want to look at equipment that is really about you, your personal gear. Very personal gear relies on fit and comfort to be the big thing. So first of all, it's going to be our mask and snorkel. Now the mask and snorkel is a really important piece that needs to be fitted properly. Do not go to a large box department store and go get a mask snorkel combination that's in a clamshell plastic case. No, you want to fit these to your face just right. We do that at a dive center where a dive professional knows how to fit your face for a mask. So look at that when you're taking your class. This is a very personal and intimate piece of equipment. Next are your fins. Now your fins, you can see these right here. These are called full foot fins or pocket fins. And with the full foot fin, we have a sizing that might not really work with our shoe sizes. So it's super important that you get these fitted at a dive center as well. Doing the online order thing with these might not work out. You really want somebody coaching you through that. The other type of fin that goes along with this is called the open heel or strap fin. Now the open heel strap fin requires the use of a bootie to be worn with that. Most scuba divers are using this fin. It's also used in cold water applications, and what's great about the bootie is that that bootie works well over rocks and hot sand, gives some protection to your feet there. So those are the booties that go with the fins. Next would be the wetsuit. So the wetsuit is another piece of very personal and intimate gear. This can be sized and fitted for you. You want it to be snug, but not too tight, not too loose. It needs to be just right. So having a professional to tell you how to do that and size that is super important. And I like the purchase of your own wetsuit or rash guard or exposure suit. I like it because remember there's an adage in the industry that says this: there's two types of divers, those that pee in their wetsuits and those that lie about it. So I'll let you digest that for a little bit and think on that. And finally are going to be the accessories. So accessories, not so much personal fit and comfort type items, but some places want you to have them, such as the lead that goes along to compensate for the buoyancy you'll have with wetsuits, possibly a belt that goes with the lead. Then you've got your slate to write things underwater, and then finally a dive knife, which is just used as a cutting tool. And lots of people ask this: does a scuba certification card expire? Well, the answer is most of them do not, but some do. And so what we look at is that the scuba certification card, think about it as your high school diploma. It just measures what you have learned up to a certain point in time, and it gives you a credential for that. But like with the high school diploma, if you did not keep up with algebra for the next 2 years after high school, what do you think you're going to remember about that? So the same thing with the scuba certification card. If you're not actively diving on a regular basis, then you're going to want to go through what's called a refresher. And a refresher is an opportunity for you just to get refreshed on your academic knowledge as well as your physical work in the pool and working on some of those skills again to get that under your belt. So here's my final recommendations for you to become a certified scuba diver. First, ask friends and coworkers about dive centers and instructors that they can recommend to you. Second is you can go to training agencies' websites, put in your location, and find the different centers and instructors that are in your area. Third, download my class cost comparison chart. Again, this is going to be a great tool for you to use when checking different courses to take. Meet your scuba instructor. You may have signed up for a class or you're about to sign up for a class. I can't stress this enough. Meet the person that's actually going to teach you before you engage in the class or put down your deposit or anything like that. You really want to bond with this person and know that they are just totally invested in your education and safety as a diver. I also have an article at scubaguru.com that talks about how to choose the best scuba class. And in that, lots of elements are listed in that article. So look that up at scubaguru.com as well. And I also recommend this. Download our new Scuba Exam app. This app helps you to go through quizzes and test questions that you're going to see with many of the different agencies. Now, this can be done on your phone or iPad, and you just get to go through question after question. Each question has an explanation, and we even have a whole theory section where you could read up on all of this stuff. It's a great app. Watch for our video on that, and you can download that from the iTunes store as well.
So there you go. If you learned something from this video, please hit like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, you can go to scubaguru.com where you'll find more resources, tips, and techniques. Thanks for watching, and all the best to you as you become a certified scuba diver.